but if Caleb Williams were to force his way out of Chicago, it would be ... a great idea or an absolute disaster?
Well, you got to factor in if he's successful. Because John Elway was successful and Eli Manning, they're Hall of Fame quarterbacks, and they forced their way out of situations they didn't want to go to. They did. It turned out, the correct call for them. I just remember with Elway, he didn't want to play for the then Baltimore Colts, and he used baseball, the Yankees, as leverage that he was going to go play baseball. And then they eventually traded him. I think Caleb, I think people already have a perception of him of high maintenance or a diva. But if you're good, then it doesn't matter. You'll be like, no, I made the right decision. I think he'd get roughed up considerably on social media. Yeah. Yeah, Paul.
If you look at John Elway, he looked at the Broncos and said, that's a better organization. That was a fact. And, they were winning in the 70s and he joined them in the 80s. Same thing with Eli. The Giants are a much more stable organization than the then Chargers.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can make the case that, I know the Bears have been a mess, but I don't know that the Washington Commanders are that blue blood upgrade that, you could sell.
No, only that he's going home. Like you can't, you can't turn that down, and you can't criticize him. He just wanted to go home. Well, I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. It's not a territorial draft the way it used to be in basketball. I think he would get roughed up. And you're going to a team that is going to be on par with the Bears. I just don't know if, have the Bears, have they improved here? Do they understand the model now of what you need to do when you draft a quarterback? Did they make the mistake with Justin Fields? And the answer is yes. They did a disservice to him. But you got to build the team, then get the quarterback there. And I think Chicago's done that. It certainly feels that way. And Robert Griffin is basing this partially on the GM not getting enough for Justin Fields. But I would argue, and will argue, okay, he did right by him. It wasn't that he, totally screwed that up too. He did right by Justin Fields. Now, is that his job? No. His job is to get the best players or draft picks so you can help Caleb Williams. I didn't agree with, hey, I got to do right by Justin Fields. But if I'm a player on the team or a free agent or even a draft pick, I'm like, well, okay, they did do right by him. They sent him to where he wanted to go. Yes, Marvin.
Going back to John Elway, didn't he do the right thing? Because didn't the Colts leave Baltimore in the middle of the night?
Yes, eventually, yes.
How far after that?
They would have brought him with, though.
Yes.
They weren't going to leave him.
Yes, yeah.
No, but I'm just saying, just the franchise itself, that's where I would be going?
No, it wasn't, that wasn't a stable organization, and they proved that. And the Broncos were a stable organization. The Chargers, not a stable organization. And Eli wanted to go to a place that, was a blue blood, and he went to the Giants. It did pan out. It worked out for them. I just don't know if you can say to Caleb, that Caleb, hey, he's making the right call. He's going to go to an organization that's done it right for decades. They haven't. And you got a new owner in there. You got a new coach in there. You got a defensive-minded coach. I always get nervous when a quarterback goes to a team where the coach is a defensive-minded coach. If you're going to draft a quarterback high, make sure you have somebody who's there to greet him, who's there to help him, who's there who understands what it's like to come in, and you got to be the savior. A defensive-minded coach, they usually don't have much patience for quarterbacks in offense. Yeah, I don't know if Rex Ryan really went out of his way to accommodate Mark Sanchez. Sanchez joined a team that was really good. Could he have been better? Could he have stayed longer if you had somebody who was there who maybe was an offensive-minded head coach? And Tom Brady benefited from having, a good offensive coordinator. For the most part, throughout his career in New England, offensive-minded, guy. The coordinator helped him. But he had a defensive-minded head coach. I think if you're drafting somebody, having that guy who has that open mind offensively, which is what the NFL is all about, that would be beneficial. Matt Eberflus, I can take him or leave him. I don't know if he's great at developing quarterbacks. We saw what happened with Justin Fields, but this is the last call for Matt Eberflus. I mean, if it doesn't work out, I mean, he's a lame duck coach right now. That, to me, is tricky as well. But you got Dan Quinn coaching the Commanders. Okay, new ownership. Okay. That's not enough for me to go, that's where I want to be. I still think Chicago had a good offseason. I really do. I mean, the negative, if you want to say they got a conditional pick for Justin Fields. Should they have gotten more? Yeah, but how much more? Nobody wanted him. Not at a second or third round price. So you got him, and maybe it turns out to be a fourth round pick. If it does, then maybe you got what you needed to. I would have a little more confidence with the Bears just because what they did in the offseason. I don't know if these players are going to pan out, but it feels like they're trying to have a better infrastructure for their rookie quarterback, something they didn't do with Justin Fields. Eli famously didn't want to play for the Chargers, John Elway. Elway drafted in 83, and he didn't want to play for the Colts. The Colts left Baltimore in the middle of the night the following year, so he probably was accurate in saying, this seems like an unstable franchise here. Yes, Eaton?
Were they already leaving Baltimore?
Well,
or
they said they weren't. Their owner, Robert Irsay, said that they're not moving.
Did John Elway get the blame for Baltimore losing their team?
I don't know. I don't remember that.
Because that modern day, that absolutely would be. You could sitting here now, looking back, you could easily make the case that if John Elway had been drafted and gone to Baltimore, that team would have stayed there.
That's interesting. I don't remember that. I mean, I remember the 83 draft. I was there, but I just don't remember how big of it was a big story because we were in New York and that he was thinking about playing for the Yankees in Oneonta, I think their single A team. And I don't think anybody believed it, but he was going to use that so the Colts wouldn't draft him. And then didn't they get Chris Hinton?
Chris Hinton, I think, an offensive lineman out of Northwestern, and a bunch of draft picks.
Yeah.
I'm reading a story from a bunch of years ago. It's a speculative story that talks about that. If John Elway was there and the future was bright, the town may have ponied up more for a new stadium and other things to keep them. But
they needed a new stadium.
Yeah, and that they said it would have been much more likely if you had Elway as the future. It's speculative, but it makes a lot of sense.
And then Eli going to the Chargers. I know Eli didn't want to go. I always thought that there was a 30 for 30 there because I had gotten details from somebody involved in this, and it felt like there was more to it than just Eli didn't want to go to the Chargers. Yeah, Paul.
Eli Manning, during his entire career with the Giants, avoided the Charger topic. He's like, it's over, it's done. After his career was over in 2021, he talked to Kyle Brandt on the podcast, and he said, I'll tell you what happened. He said, going through the draft process, is a quote, I was just worried about the Chargers organization at the time. We tried to quietly tell the Chargers, hey, please don't draft me. It could be our secret. They didn't keep that secret very well, and it came out before the draft. They wanted to do this behind the scenes. His father and his agent wanted to do it behind the scenes, and it got out.
Yeah.
But it didn't get out until just a couple weeks before the draft.
Yeah.
That was an awkward draft day.
Oh, boy.
Eli had to take pictures with the Charger hat on, and do interviews, and then do it again.
Yeah. It's like, hey, I'm happy to be here, even though I'm not. Oh, I'm really happy that I'm putting this hat on because this is where I want to be. It worked out for Elway, and it worked out for Eli. All right, we'll take a break. We'll check in with the Dodgers and the Padres, and baseball has started. Should baseball have started? Should baseball have started outside the United States? We'll discuss that when we come back after this.